We're gonna give you the best lifts for you to increase your explosiveness, and we're gonna start right now. One of the best aspects around training athletes at the Olympics, around coaching at multiple different world championships, nearly a dozen world championships, is seeing the different warm-ups. And when you're looking at explosive athletes, a high jumper, a weightlifter, a sprinter, they all use an effective warm-up. So the first part of being explosive is making sure that you warm up effectively. So GS warm up here, we're gonna be starting with that PVC pipe walks. Let's go 2 sets of 15 yards. Next exercise, get into a split squat position, okay? I want the lead leg here. Opposite of my lead leg, I'm gonna hold the band here, and I'm gonna rotate 180 degrees, and I'm gonna come back. Let's do 7 each side, okay? And then switch here. Lead leg is forward, it's my right leg, I'm holding my left arm, rotate 180 degrees. Try to really focus on not falling all over the place. Be as stable as possible, okay, and keep that hip close to force greater thoracic rotation, okay, right there. Now, the next movement, it's gonna be a little bit more unilateral base. Now we're gonna get into RDLs, into a hip block, okay? RDL, hip block, focus on the trunk, focus on the trunk, focus on the hamstrings, focus on good stability through the ankle. Both sides, come up, down, back up. 2 sets of 7 each side. Next one, this is my challenging one, the one that kills me every single time, trunk rolls, okay? I believe this is probably the best thing for you to really focus on that DTC, that dynamic trunk control. This is gonna increase your ability to be explosive. Hold that hollow position here, okay? Let's roll here, boom, oh, come back. Squeeze more through the glutes. Here, roll over, there we go, it's all in the glutes. Glutes in the trunk here, back over. Oh God, I suck so bad to that left side. So you can do that like 5 rolls each side. Let's say you do that at least twice. Now, the next one, now we're gonna focus on deeper mobility. So let's get into position here and just walk. Walk, go backwards, walk forwards. Then we go right into duck hops backwards, duck hop forward again. When we're thinking about explosiveness, okay, I'm gonna give you 2 examples of how I think through that lens. We're gonna use movements like a broad jump, a vertical jump, bounds. Those are exercises that we use to test explosiveness. Is there evidence of post-activation potentiation? Meaning, if I do a lift, and then I rest 60 seconds to 120 seconds, and then we do a broad jump or we do a vertical, do we see an improvement from that lift? Is there a greater potentiation? So that's one way that we analyze explosiveness for lifts. The second is that over a longer time frame, let's say we take 12 months and we increase a specific movement, do we then see that when this exercise increases, so does vertical jump, so does broad jump, so does any other movement that we're using to gauge explosiveness. So that's how we're gonna use the lens to determine what lifts are more effective for being explosive. Now, one of those cool exercises that everybody loves to use is going to be a flywheel because it's gonna strengthen the eccentric and the concentric. But one of the downfalls is that a lot of people don't have access to it. And one of the other aspects I wanna bring up, even though it can get you a huge freaking quad pump, we've used this movement with different loading parameters, with different tests to look at what happens if we're using a flywheel while we're doing a movement like a broad jump, okay? So we've taken a couple different athletes, some of our best athletes. We've had them get on the flywheel, someone like Nick Singleton. He's hit a flywheel for, like I said, 4 to 5 reps. And then in that same setting, we'll measure his broad jump. So flywheel, rest about a minute, and then broad jump. And when we use the flywheel in that PAPE setting, post-activation potentiation, we never really saw anything increasing the broad jump from it. However, a movement that we did see quite a bit of improvement from is this next one. So this next exercise I'm about to demonstrate is the movement that we saw had a much better impact on broad jumps in the post-activation potentiation setting in comparison to the flywheel. And it also, over a long drawn out time horizon, it had a huge impact on vertical jump. That is going to be a front squat. So we would get set in this position and I might do 2 different variations. We can go here, up, and somebody's intent is to move that as fast as possible. Here, up, or we do a double that's unbroken. When choosing lifts, okay, go back to the beginning here. Post-activation potentiation, front squat wins. Long-term drawn-out success, front squat wins. Okay, so flywheel solid, but in this case, I'm gonna choose a front squat to increase that overall explosiveness. It's just a really, really hard movement. It's really challenging. It never really gets easier, but if you can get your athletes to consistently front squat, they're gonna get more explosive. Okay, so this next exercise is a movement that can really help you get very, very strong, but it's also gonna help you get really, really explosive. And I did wanna mention that at the end of this video, we're gonna have the biggest nugget for you guys to improve your overall explosiveness. But before we get there, let's do this exercise, and that's going to be a deadlift. Now, okay, if we do this here, as we warm up, I wanna see like that intent is as aggressive as possible. So this is gonna be relatively light. I wanna go as fast as possible. Okay, now let's build up. Let's say that we build up in a working set up to, let's just say 170 kilos. We get to 170, and now let's say we hit this for a heavy double. And I'm gonna give you a scenario that you guys can use specific to the deadlift to make yourself more explosive. So now we get to 170. Let's just pretend that my best deadlift ever is 190 kilos, okay? My best deadlift ever is 307, 705 pounds. I think it's 307. Anyway, so if I'm gonna do something super dynamic, okay, let's say I work up to this 170, my best deadlift ever is 180, 190. So I wanna get to like 85, 90% of my max, okay? So I'll go here, and I still want the intent to move fast. I'm here, okay, down, down. Now, there's two things you can do. You can rest for like 60 to 90 seconds. Try to hit like 8 doubles as fast as you can. Move it as quickly as possible. Another aspect that you can do that I think is more effective is, let's say if my best deadlift is 405 or around 180, I would drop down to like 315. So somewhere in the range of like 70%, 80%, somewhere in that range. I hit 8 doubles with 60 to 90 seconds rest, and I'm as dynamic as possible. I wanna act like I'm pushing as much force into the ground, and I'm bending that bar so I get a nice little whip, and I'm driving as rapidly as I can. When we can learn how to recruit as effectively as possible at high speeds, okay, that's when we're gonna see that transfer over to the realm of explosiveness. Okay, so throwers love doing partial movements, and I'm mentioning throwers because they're probably top 3 most explosive athletes on the planet if we're looking at tests and force production, the amount of force that they develop in a short time frame. I look at explosive as impulse. What's impulse? It's how much force are you devoting, or how much force are you developing in a short time frame. If we have a time frame that's short, can you light up a lot of force into an implement, into a barbell, into an opposing individual if we're playing football, something like that? Okay, now, where I'm going with this is we're gonna use an exercise here, okay, that we typically will do like 12 to 16 weeks, or 16 down to 12, down to 8 weeks out from a peak. We're gonna go pretty heavy with this, and then we'll usually do a drop set where we do full range of motion for just like 1 set. Okay, so we'll get set here. All right, and we want to get to a position that's almost near our sticking point, but maybe just right out of it, so that we can be as quickly as possible and we can really put a heavy load on. So we'll go here. I'll go 1, 2, boom, up. 1, 2, boom, up. 1, 2, boom, up. Now, if we have someone doing this really, really heavy, okay, like extraordinarily heavy, 600 pounds, what you'll see is on the first rep, they hit it, then they go. Then the second rep, they hit it, and then they go a little quicker. Then the third rep, their nervous system, again, you guys sort of get triggered when I say this, their nervous system wakes up, meaning it's potentiated and recruits faster. So your body adapts to it. Then there's this point of fatigue where you can see 4 or 5 reps is too much, 2 to 3 reps is ideal. Now, we will do this, or we sort of go back and forth week to week with another partial squat movement that's gonna help you be more explosive. So the second part of this is like, let's say week 1 and week 4, we're going back and forth between, we're doing all those partial pin squats. Okay, week 2 and 3, we might do this movement where we're loaded up, super loaded. We get here and we're going, okay? And we're almost using that as a little bit of a rebound and accelerating as quickly as possible in that unbroken scenario. I like the padded boxes just because it still protects your back. So it's fun to use these movements. You know, these are partial range of motion movements. I still like to do it 1 or 2 drop sets at like 50% load of full range of motion as fast as possible, just because it's like helping them maintain their mobility, maintain their positions in that full range while still getting a very heavy load, which is gonna light up their nervous system. So just keep that in mind. Now, we're gonna get to a really unique one that I don't think we've ever demonstrated in the history of our YouTube channel. And then of course, we've got the overarching king nugget at the end of this video. Before the next exercise from the pin squats, one of the big aspects that we've been doing in our strength training at Peak Strength is focusing on those 4 key areas: explosiveness, speed, endurance, and strength. So we've developed all of our programs and we've updated Peak Strength to include speed-based training and more explosive-based work. So if you guys need help in becoming a more explosive athlete, you're struggling to apply your explosiveness directly to your specific sport, then head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store, download Peak Strength, and then go in, select your specific sport. Then you're gonna get exercises in a training system that's based around increasing speed, increasing explosiveness, increasing your strength, and even your endurance if you're in a different sport that actually needs endurance. And that's gonna help you guys become a champion. Now, let's get into that next exercise to improve your explosiveness. Okay, the next exercise, it's gonna be a single leg squat. I think you guys, of course, probably knew that. And then you're gonna say, oh, he's gotta try and sell a single leg roller, available at garagestrength.com. So go pick that up at garagestrength.com. But now, we wanna get into a situation here that's gonna transfer to explosiveness. And I like to do movements that can be really applied over to a sport. So in the case of a single leg squat, let's say I go like this, boom, come back up. That's really great for overall strength. Now, I also think about, I'm gonna rack this quickly, I also like to think about a sport like a high jump or long jump or even as a running back or a wide receiver going to plant to catch a ball. So they're putting a lot of force here and then they jump, that penultimate step, boom, up. That's gonna be where this next exercise comes in. So we're gonna be here, and we go here, boom, back up, boom, back up, boom, back up, boom, back up, then 1, boom, full range. When you do this quick drop, boom, pause for like a 2 to 2 seconds. Back up as fast as possible. Boom, back up as fast as possible. You're going to recruit a massive amount of motor units. Then you do that full range of motion for 1 rep. Okay, you can do that for like 5 sets of 3 in 1, okay? Now, start with less weight. Just start with a bar or even body weight where you're here. Boom, boom, boom. You're gonna focus on that trunk control so you can't be wobbling all over the place. You're gonna be more stable. And then in the case of post-activation potentiation, you can rest about 60 to 90 seconds and go execute like a single leg bound, single leg broad jump. This transfers phenomenally to those situations. We've measured athletes where we'll do single leg bounds for 3 bounds, and we'll measure the distance after we do multiple sets of this exercise. It's gonna transfer quite a bit to improving your overall explosiveness. So when we're looking at all these exercises, they're all fantastic. When we're trying to increase explosiveness, they're all absolutely phenomenal. Even the flywheel is a phenomenal lift. But the biggest thing I wanna touch on here is that when we're training athletes, there's still a basement that we need to get to. And that is all foundationally applied through front squats, through back squats, and through freaking snatches and cleans. Okay, so if we can learn how to do a 2-box clean, or a low hang clean, or a high hang clean, or a high hang snatch, or a muscle snatch, when we're doing something like velocity-based training, and you do muscle snatches, you're gonna see how fast the bar is moving. And when an athlete is younger and they're developing these exercises, they learn how to apply that force rapidly in other movements. But we sort of get brainwashed by these flashy movements like the ones I just showed, like the drop single leg squat. It's a flashy movement, but we're missing the fundamentals, okay? So the fundamentals are rooted in something like this. Boom, okay? As fast as possible through a short range. Poof. And the other part I wanted to bring up, we're using this with a shorter range of motion because we have to express more impulse. If we can teach our athletes what impulse is, it's force in a short period of time, okay? Or in our case of sport specificity, the time frame is shorter. And if we can learn how to apply force as rapidly as possible using partial range of motion snatches, cleans, jerks, behind the neck jerks, another one that's super quick. Those are the fundamentals. There's a reason why someone like Jaime Perez has a 30-inch vertical. She can do a 2-box snatch or a hang snatch at 100 kilos. She didn't just get explosive and then did snatches. She got explosive because she snatched since she was 12 years old. And that's the big factor here, is that we've got a lot of athletes that are 270, 290 pounds with 35-inch verticals because of what they're doing with these fundamental lifts. And that's what you're gonna get inside of peak strength, is that we've got to develop that snatch or that clean or that behind the neck jerk, the big back squat, the big front squat. Those are the fundamentals. And then the periodization, the programming will take advantage of all these unique movements to really elicit that explosive response. So remember, freaks, if you want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.